Part 4. The revelation, the bridge of the eternal glory, was silent as Thelvax finished reading the human historical files. His officers waited nervously, wondering what their commander would do next. Several hours had passed since the failed attack. The human fleet remained in position, shields still active but weapons still offline. "Call a meeting of all ship commanders," Thelvax finally said. "Send them everything we have learned about the humans. They need to understand what we are facing." Within an hour, 300 Valthorian captains were connected via holographic conference. They had all seen the failed attack. Many had questions. Some were angry. A few looked frightened. Thelvax stood before them all and spoke. "I made a mistake. Our scouts made a mistake. The Empire made a mistake. These humans are not primitives. They are possibly the most dangerous species we have ever encountered." Angry voices filled the channel. "Dangerous? They haven't even fired on us. They sent us recipes. One of them offered us meditation classes." "Exactly," Thelvax said, quieting them. "That is what makes them dangerous. They could have destroyed us at any moment. But they chose not to. They chose to mock us instead, to treat us like we are ignorant children who do not know any better. And they are right." He brought up the technical data on the main display. "Look at these numbers. Their shields are 10 times stronger than ours. Their weapons are faster, more powerful, and more accurate. Their sensors can see things we cannot even detect. Their ships are built to fight wars against enemies just as advanced as they are. While we have been conquering primitives for 2,000 years, humans have been fighting each other. They have been forced to innovate, to improve, to become stronger just to survive." One captain spoke up. "Then why did our scouts report them as primitive?" "Because our scouts only saw their colony ships. Civilian vessels designed to carry families to new worlds. Those ships are simple because they do not need to be complex. But their military vessels?" Thelvax shook his head. "We have never seen anything like them." On the Indomitable, Captain Park was watching the Valthorian communications. The humans had been monitoring the alien conference call without the Valthorians knowing. It was easy with their superior technology. "They're starting to understand," she said to Admiral Minho. "Good. I was worried we would actually have to shoot at them." Minho looked tired. "I really don't want to kill anyone today. Or any day, really." Lieutenant Kim Junho looked up from his station. "Sir, should we tell them we've been listening to their private conversations?" "Absolutely not. Let them have their meeting." Engineer Choi Minji's voice came through the comms. "I feel a little bad for them. They came here expecting to conquer primitives and found out they're the primitives. That's gotta hurt." "It's a lesson every species needs to learn eventually," Minho replied. "Better they learn it from us, where we'll let them leave alive, than from someone who won't be so nice." Back on the Eternal Glory, the conference was getting heated. Some captains wanted to retreat immediately. Others wanted to report back to the Empire and return with a larger fleet. A few stubborn ones still wanted to find a way to win. "There is no winning," Thelvax told them bluntly. "I have run the simulation 17 times. In every scenario, if the humans decide to fight back, our entire fleet is destroyed in less than 4 minutes. 4 minutes, and that's if they're being careful not to hit each other with friendly fire." The numbers appeared on everyone's screens. The simulations played out in fast forward. Every single one ended the same way. Total Valthorian defeat. "What do we do?" asked a younger captain, one who had never experienced defeat before. Thelvax took a deep breath. "We talk to them. Actually talk, not just demand surrender. We learn about them, and then we return home and tell the Empire that the galaxy is larger and more dangerous than we thought." He opened a direct communication channel to Admiral Minho. This time, his voice held no arrogance, no demands, just honest respect. "Admiral Minho, this is Commander Thelvax. I request a diplomatic meeting. I believe we have much to discuss." Minho appeared on the screen, smiling warmly. "Finally. I've been hoping you would say that. Come on over. We'll have lunch. Do you eat food, or is your species different?" "We eat food, but I do not think I should come alone. Bring whoever you want. We'll make extra. Park, tell the kitchen to prepare a big meal. Korean barbecue, right? Everyone loves barbecue." 2 hours later, Thelvax and 5 of his senior officers were aboard the Indomitable. They had expected a military ship to be cold, efficient, and purely functional. Instead, they found a vessel that felt almost comfortable. There were plants growing in corridors, artwork on the walls, a recreation room where off-duty crew members were playing games and laughing. "This is a warship? one Valthorian officer whispered. We spend months or years on these ships, Captain Park explained, overhearing. We want them to feel like home. No point being miserable all the time. They entered the dining hall where a massive spread of food was laid out. Korean barbecue, rice, vegetables, side dishes, and dozens of other items filled several tables. Human crew members were there, eating and talking casually. They waved at the aliens like this was completely normal. Sit, please, Admiral Minho said, gesturing to chairs that had been adjusted for Valthorian anatomy. Try the beef. It's really good. Thelvax sat awkwardly. This was the strangest military meeting he had ever attended. Around him, his officers were equally confused. But they were also hungry after hours of stress, so they began trying the food. It was delicious. So, Minho said between bites, let's talk honestly. You came here expecting easy conquest. You found something different. Now you're wondering what to do next. Am I right? That is accurate, Thelvax admitted. Here's what I suggest. You go home. You tell your empire about us. You explain that we're not interested in fighting, but we're also not going to be pushed around. Then if your empire wants to talk trade, cultural exchange, or anything peaceful, we're happy to negotiate. But if they send another fleet looking for a fight, Mino's expression became serious. We'll defend ourselves, and your empire will lose a lot of ships and people for no good reason. You are very confident. I'm realistic. I've seen the sensor data from your ships. I know what your technology can do, and I know what our technology can do. There's no contest. That's not bragging. That's just math. Dr. Nam Suho sat down at the table with a plate of food. You know what's interesting? Your species and ours are actually pretty similar biologically. Same basic body plan, similar organ systems. With some adjustments, our medical technology would work on you. That means we could help each other. Medical knowledge, scientific research, all kinds of cooperation. Much better than shooting at each other, right? One of the Valthorian officers spoke up. Why are you being so kind to us? We attacked you. We tried to kill you. You tried to attack us, Lieutenant Lee Hyun corrected, joining the table. You didn't actually hurt anyone. And we get it. Your empire has been the biggest power in the region for a long time. You're used to being in charge. Finding out you're not anymore is scary. But scary doesn't mean we have to be enemies. Pilot Han Seoyeon added her thoughts. Plus, war is boring. I've been in actual combat. It's terrifying and people die and it's awful. I'd much rather have a friendly competition. Maybe a race? Your ships against ours? Winner gets bragging rights? You would race us? A Valthorian officer asked, surprised. Why not? Racing is fun. Nobody dies, and it would give you a better idea of what our ships can do without anyone getting hurt. Thelvax listened to all of this and felt his worldview shifting. These humans were warriors, yes. Their technology proved that. But they were also diplomats, friends, competitors, and hosts. They could mock their enemies and then invite them to dinner. They could build weapons of incredible power and then choose not to use them. They were complex in a way the Valthorian Empire had never encountered before. Admiral Minho, Thelvax said slowly, I need to ask you something. If we had actually managed to hurt one of your ships, would you have destroyed us? Minho considered this carefully. Honestly, probably not. We would have disabled your weapons and then forced you to sit through a really long lecture about galactic safety and the importance of not shooting first. Maybe made you take some classes on conflict resolution. He smiled. But if you had actually killed any of our people, yeah, then we would have fought back, and it would have been over very quickly. The honesty was refreshing and terrifying. These humans were giving the Valthorian Empire a gift, the chance to survive their own arrogance. They were letting Thelvax return home with his ships and his people intact. I accept your terms, Thelvax said. We will return to the Empire and report honestly about what we found. And I will personally recommend that we pursue peaceful relations with humanity. Excellent. Minho raised his glass. To new friendships and not shooting each other. The humans at the table cheered. The Valthorians looked at each other uncertainly, then slowly raised their own glasses. It felt strange sharing a meal with people they had been fighting just hours before. But it also felt right somehow. Better than dying in a pointless battle. Part 3. The Misunderstanding. Thelvax stood alone in his private quarters, staring at the reports scattered across his desk. Each one told the same story. The Valthorian Empire had made a terrible mistake. The humans were not primitive. They were not weak. They were something far more dangerous than any species the Empire had ever encountered, but he could not accept defeat. Not yet. He had spent 40 years building his reputation. He had conquered 30 systems personally. His family name was respected across the Empire. If he retreated now without even fighting, he would be remembered as a coward forever. There had to be a way to win. He returned to the bridge with new determination. His officers looked up hopefully, waiting for orders. "We attack," Thelvax announced. "Full assault. All weapons. We will overwhelm them with sheer numbers and firepower." "Sir," the tactical officer said carefully, "the sensor data suggests that might not be wise. I did not ask for your opinion. I gave you an order." The tactical officer fell silent. The other bridge crew exchanged worried glances but said nothing. They had their orders. The fleet would attack, and whatever happened next would be recorded in history. The Valthorian fleet moved forward in perfect formation. 300 warships, each one massive and powerful, began their approach toward the human vessels. Shields were at maximum strength. Every weapon system was armed and ready. The charge-up sequence created a light show that could be seen from several star systems away. On the Indomitable, alarms started beeping. Lieutenant Li Hyun looked up from his console with surprise. "Admiral, the aliens are actually attacking. All 300 ships are moving toward us with weapons hot." Admiral Minho set down his coffee mug. "Really, I thought we were past this. Park, what do you think?" Captain Park studied the tactical display. "Their formation is good. Classic overwhelming force doctrine. They're putting everything they have into one big push. It would work against most species, but not against us. Not even close." Minho sighed and opened a communication channel. "Attention, Valthorian fleet. This is Admiral Kang Minho of the Human Defense Force. Please stop what you're doing. Nobody needs to die today. We can talk about this." Thelvax read the message and felt his anger return. They were still treating him like a child. Even now, with his entire fleet bearing down on them, the humans were acting like this was all just a misunderstanding. "No response," he told his communications officer. "Continue the attack." The distance between the fleets closed. 1,000 kilometers, 500, 200. The Valthorian ships opened fire with everything they had. Thousands of plasma bolts, energy beams, and missiles filled the space between them. It was the kind of firepower that had destroyed planets. The human fleet activated their combat shields. The difference was immediate and shocking. The shields appeared as shimmering barriers of blue energy, far brighter and stronger than anything the Valthorians had seen before. Every single Valthorian weapon struck those shields and simply disappeared. The energy was absorbed, dispersed, or reflected back into space. Not one shot made it through. "Impossible," Thelvax whispered. "Sir, their shields are operating at power levels we can't even measure," the science officer reported. "Our weapons are not even making them flicker. Keep firing." More weapons discharged. More energy was wasted. The human ships sat there unmoved, their shields casually stopping everything the Valthorian Empire could throw at them. Then the humans sent another message. This time it was a video call. Admiral Minho appeared on every Valthorian screen looking disappointed. "Commander Thelvax, please stop shooting. You're going to hurt someone, and it's going to be your own people when those reflected shots come back around. We really don't want to fight you. If you don't want to fight, then surrender," Thelvax shouted at the screen. "Why would we surrender? We're winning. Actually, we're not even fighting. You're just shooting at our shields while we sit here feeling awkward about the whole situation." Captain Park appeared next to Minho on the screen. "Seriously, this is getting embarrassing. For you, I mean. Can we please just talk?" "Warriors do not talk," Thelvax said. "Warriors fight until one side surrenders." "That's stupid," said a new voice. Lieutenant Li Hyun had taken over the communication channel. "Fighting when you know you're going to lose isn't brave. It's just wasteful. Look at your sensor data. Really look at it. Then think about whether you want to see what our weapons actually do." Thelvax wanted to argue, but something in the young human's voice made him pause. He looked at his tactical officer. "Show me their weapons analysis." The officer brought up the data they had collected on human weapon systems. The numbers were terrifying. The humans had railguns that could fire projectiles at a significant fraction of light speed. They had plasma weapons that made Valthorian cannons look like toys. They had missiles with AI guidance systems so advanced that they could think faster than most organic beings, and none of it was activated. The humans were sitting there with all their weapons turned off, letting the Valthorians shoot at them, waiting patiently for this foolishness to end. "How long can they maintain those shields?" Thelvax asked quietly. "According to our estimates, sir, indefinitely. Their power generation is so far beyond ours that they could maintain full combat shields for years without any strain on their systems. Years. The Valthorian fleet could fire every weapon continuously for years, and they would never get through those shields. And the moment the humans decided to fire back, the battle would be over in minutes." Another message arrived. This time it was from Engineer Choi Minji. "Hey, alien commander guy. I've been watching your ships and I'm worried about your portside vessels. Their shields are fluctuating. That's a sign of power distribution problems. If you keep firing like this, you're going to blow out your own systems. I'm sending you a technical manual on proper shield maintenance. It's free. Please don't kill your own people because of bad engineering." The technical manual arrived moments later. Thelvax's engineers opened it and immediately started reading. The information was detailed, advanced, and incredibly helpful. The humans were trying to save Valthorian lives even while being attacked. "Sir," the lead engineer called out. "They're right. Ships 47 through 53 are in danger of shield collapse. If we continue firing, they'll be exposed to their own weapon backwash." "Cease fire," Thelvax ordered, his voice hollow. The Valthorian fleet stopped shooting. The sudden silence felt louder than the battle had been. 300 warships floated in space, having accomplished nothing except wasting ammunition and embarrassing themselves. Dr. Nam Suho's voice came through next, cheerful and friendly. "Okay, now that everyone's calmed down, let me make an offer. Free medical checkups for your entire fleet. I'm seeing a lot of stress indicators on your life signs. High blood pressure, elevated heart rates, stress hormones off the chart. That's not healthy. We have really good meditation programs. Also, I can prescribe something for anxiety if needed." Pilot Han Soyeon added her own comment. "If you do decide to keep fighting, can I at least launch? I've been sitting in my cockpit for 3 hours. I'm getting cramped." "Nobody is launching anything," Admiral Minho said firmly. Then he looked directly at the camera, his expression serious. "Commander Thelvax, I'm going to be honest with you. This is not going to end well for you if it continues. You have 300 ships. We have 50? But our 50 ships could destroy your entire fleet in under 5 minutes if we wanted to. We don't want to. We're not conquerors. We're not here to build an empire. We just want to live peacefully and maybe make some friends." He paused, letting that sink in. "I'm sending you some historical files about humanity. You should read them. You'll understand why we built our military the way we did, and why we really, really don't want to use it. Give yourself some time to think. We're not going anywhere." The transmission ended. Thelvax sat in his command chair, staring at the view screen. His fleet had fired thousands of shots and accomplished nothing. The humans had not fired a single shot and had completely controlled the situation. The historical files were downloading to his computer. He opened them and began to read about human history. About their wars. About how they had nearly destroyed themselves dozens of times before finally achieving peace. About military technology built not to fight primitive aliens, but to fight other humans who were just as smart, just as desperate, and just as capable. By the time he finished reading, Thelvax understood. The Valthorian Empire had built its weapons to fight primitives and celebrate victories. Humans had built their weapons to survive against enemies who wanted to kill them, just as badly as they wanted to survive. There was no comparison. Part 2. The demonstration. Thelvax paced across his bridge, his footsteps echoing in the uncomfortable silence. His officers avoided looking at him directly. The moon destruction that was supposed to terrify the humans had turned into an embarrassing joke. He could already imagine what the other fleet commanders would say when they heard about this. "Send another message," he said, forcing his voice to remain calm. "Tell them they have one final chance to surrender. If they refuse, we will destroy them all." The communications officer obeyed, sending a formal declaration of war in the traditional Valthorian format. It included proper legal terminology, historical precedents, and 17 different clauses about the rights of conquered species. The message took 40 minutes to compose and transmit. The human response came back in 30 seconds. "K, just one letter. One single human letter. What does K mean?" Thelvax asked, his patience wearing thin. The linguistics officer checked his database again. "It appears to be an informal acknowledgement, sir." extremely casual. It roughly translates to "I heard you but do not care enough to respond properly." They dismissed our declaration of war with a single letter? Yes, sir. Thelvax felt his face turning purple. No species had ever treated the Empire like this. Even the most powerful civilizations they had encountered showed respect, even in defiance. But these humans acted like the Valthorian fleet was nothing more than a minor annoyance. "All ships battle formation," he commanded. "Charge weapons. We will show them the true meaning of power." The Valthorian fleet moved with practiced precision. 300 warships arranged themselves into the traditional attack pattern that had conquered countless worlds. Shields activated, glowing with protective energy. Weapon systems began their charging cycles, creating brilliant displays of light across the fleet. On the Indomitable, Lieutenant Li Hyun watched the alien formation with professional interest. "Admiral, they're moving into attack pattern Delta 7. Classic hammer and anvil formation. Very pretty. Should we do something?" Captain Park asked, sipping her coffee. Admiral Minho shrugged. "Let them finish. It would be rude to interrupt. Besides, I want to see what their weapons actually do." "Sir, they're taking 30 minutes just to charge their primary weapons," Li Hyun said. "That's really slow. Do you think they know that?" "Probably not," Minho replied. "Send them a message asking if their ships are okay." Within seconds, the human fleet began flooding the Valthorian communication channels with concerned messages. "Are your ships okay? Do you need a mechanic? Is that supposed to be glowing like that? My grandmother's toaster charges faster than that. Have you tried turning it off and on again?" Dr. Nam Suho added his own message from the medical bay. "Seriously, if your ships are malfunctioning, we have spare parts. Nobody needs to get hurt because of technical problems." Thelvax read the messages with growing rage. They were mocking him again. These humans were actually pretending to be concerned while insulting his fleet's capabilities. The absolute disrespect was beyond anything he had ever experienced. "Fire a warning shot," he ordered through clenched teeth. "Show them we are not joking." The Eternal Glory released a plasma bolt from its secondary weapons. The bolt was bright blue, crackling with energy as it crossed the space between the fleets. It had enough power to vaporize a city block. The shot was carefully aimed to pass just in front of the human formation, a traditional warning that said, "This is your last chance." The plasma bolt struck the navigation shields of a human cargo freighter called the Big Hauler. The shields flickered slightly, absorbed the energy, and returned to normal. The whole thing lasted maybe 2 seconds. Inside the Big Hauler, Captain Yoon Dae-ho was eating instant noodles when the impact alarm beeped. He looked at his screen, saw the energy reading, and pressed the intercom button. "Hey, did someone just shoot at us?" "Looks like it, Captain," his co-pilot replied. "No damage. Navigation shields caught it." "Huh, weird." Yoon took another bite of noodles. "Send them a formal complaint. Reckless driving in a no-fire zone. Tell them we're reporting them to Space OSHA." "Sir, there is no Space OSHA. They don't know that." The complaint arrived on Thelvax's screen moments later. It was formatted like a traffic violation, complete with a citation number and a request for insurance information. It also included a link to defensive flying courses for beginners. "Sir," the tactical officer said, his voice shaking slightly, "that was our secondary plasma cannon. It should have been enough to destroy a small warship. Their cargo freighter stopped it with basic navigation shields." "Check the sensors," Thelvax demanded. "There must be an error. I've checked 3 times, sir. No error. That freighter's shields they're stronger than our primary warship shields. And those are just their navigation shields, not even combat shields." The bridge fell silent again. Every officer was now staring at their screens, running calculations, checking and rechecking the data. The numbers did not make sense. According to everything they knew about technology, about physics, about warfare, this was impossible. "What about their weapons?" Thelvax asked quietly. "Have they activated any weapon systems?" "No, sir. All human warships still have their weapons offline. They haven't even targeted us." This was somehow worse than being threatened. The humans were not taking them seriously at all. They were treating the Valthorian Empire's Grand Armada like a minor traffic incident, something annoying but not actually dangerous. Another message arrived, this time from Admiral Minho directly. "Commander Thelvax, we notice you seem upset. Perhaps we got off on the wrong foot. Let's start over. We're humans from Earth. We're new to this part of space. We'd love to talk about trade, Cultural exchange, maybe some sports competitions. We make great food. You should try Korean barbecue. Along with the message came several image files showing various Earth dishes, including Korean barbecue, pizza, tacos, and sushi. There was also a playlist of something called K-pop music and a documentary about Earth's history. They're offering us food recipes? Thelvax said, staring at the images. And music, sir, the communications officer added. Also some historical information. They appear to be attempting friendly contact. Friendly contact. We just fired on them. Yes, sir. They seem to have considered it a minor accident. Lieutenant Kim Junho was laughing so hard on the Indomitable that he had to sit down. Did you see the alien commander's face? I managed to hack into their video feed. He looks like he's going to explode. Kim, stop hacking their systems, Captain Park said, though she was smiling. That's not nice, but it's so easy. Their security is terrible. I'm pretty sure I could order pizza using their communication system. Please don't. Pilot Han Seoyeon walked onto the bridge, still wearing her flight suit. So are we fighting or not? I've been sitting in my fighter for an hour. It's boring. No fighting yet, Admiral Minho replied. I don't think they understand what's happening. Do they know we haven't even activated our weapons? Probably not. Engineer Choi Minji's voice came through the comms. Admiral, I've been scanning their ships. Want to know something funny? Their shields are really weak. Like embarrassingly weak. And their weapons are slow. Everything about their technology is about 100 years behind us. Don't tell them that, Minho said. Let them figure it out themselves. Back on the Eternal Glory, Thelvax was indeed figuring it out. His science officers had been analyzing the human vessels for the past hour, and their reports were making him feel sick. The humans had not activated combat mode because they did not need to. Their civilian shields were stronger than Valthorian military shields. Their mining equipment was more powerful than Valthorian weapons. And according to the sensor readings, the human warships had weapon systems that were currently dormant. Whatever those weapons could do, they were far beyond anything the Valthorians had encountered. The Empire's Grand Armada, with all its glory and pride, had just discovered something terrifying. They were not the strongest power in the galaxy anymore, and the species that outmatched them thought the whole situation was funny. Part 1. The glorious arrival commander Thelvax stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Glory, and felt the familiar surge of pride that came with commanding 300 warships. Each vessel was massive, gleaming with polished metal that reflected the light of distant stars. The Valthorian Empire had ruled 3,000 star systems for over 2 millennia, and Thelvax had never lost a single battle in his 40 years of service. Today would be no different. His fleet had traveled to the edge of what the Empire considered worthless space. Reports from scout vessels mentioned a new species called humans, who had been building colonies in this region. The scouts described them as primitive creatures who barely understood faster-than-light travel. Their ships were simple, slow, and designed only for carrying families to new worlds. The Empire had seen dozens of species like this before. Prepare the standard ultimatum, Thelvax ordered, adjusting his ceremonial armor. Let us show these humans the glory of the Valthorian Empire. The communications officer began broadcasting the message in 47 different languages. The transmission explained the greatness of the Empire, listed every major conquest from the past 1,000 years, and demanded immediate surrender. Any species that refused would face complete destruction. The message took 3 hours to complete, as was traditional. Thelvax watched the human fleet through the view screen. There were maybe 50 vessels scattered across the area. They looked strange compared to Valthorian ships. Human vessels were angular and plain, with none of the artistic curves that showed proper civilization. They appeared to be waiting, doing nothing in particular. Sir, we're receiving a response, the communications officer said, looking confused at his screen. Excellent. Play it for all to hear, Thelvax said, straightening his posture. A voice came through the speakers, casual and relaxed. New phone, who dis? Silence filled the bridge. Every Valthorian officer stared at their screens, waiting for more. Nothing came. What does this mean? Thelvax demanded. Is this their surrender protocol? The translation computers began working furiously, trying to understand the message. The language was simple human English, but the meaning made no sense. The linguistics officer checked his database 3 times before speaking. Commander, I believe it may be some form of primitive greeting, or perhaps a malfunction in their systems, or... He paused, looking uncomfortable. It might be an insult. An insult? Thelvax's voice rose. They dare mock the Valthorian Empire? I cannot be certain, sir. The phrase does not match any known diplomatic protocol. Meanwhile, aboard the human flagship Indomitable, Admiral Kang Minho was laughing so hard he had to wipe tears from his eyes. Captain Park Ji-woo stood next to him, grinning widely while watching the alien fleet on their screens. They actually played the whole 3-hour message, Park said. I thought Lieutenant Kim was joking when he said it was that long. Did you see their faces when we responded? Minho said, still chuckling. I wish we could get better video of their bridge. Lieutenant Lee Hyun looked up from the weapons console. Sir, their ships are just sitting there. They seem confused. Should we say something else? Give them a few hours, Minho replied. Let them think about it. Meanwhile, someone send them a meme. Something about waiting. Use one of those skeleton pictures, the still waiting one. Lee Hyun asked, already pulling up the image file. Perfect. Back on the Eternal Glory, Thelvax was growing increasingly frustrated. His officers had spent 6 hours analyzing the human response and were no closer to understanding it. Then another transmission arrived. This one was just an image of a human skeleton sitting in a chair with text that said, still waiting. What is the meaning of this? Thelvax shouted. Are they threatening us with death? Is this their war god? Sir, I believe it is meant to suggest that we are taking too long to respond, the linguistics officer said carefully. Too long? We have given them the honor of hearing our glorious history. We have offered them the chance to join the greatest empire in the galaxy. And they respond with pictures of bones? The tactical officer cleared his throat. Commander, perhaps we should demonstrate our power. These primitives clearly do not understand who they are dealing with. Thelvax considered this. Yes, a demonstration would work. The Empire had perfected this approach over centuries. Show overwhelming force and the enemy would surrender immediately. It had never failed. Find an uninhabited moon nearby, he ordered. We will show them what happens to those who mock the Empire. Within minutes, they had located a suitable target. The moon was small, lifeless, and perfect for destruction. Thelvax ordered the planet cracker weapon charged. The massive energy buildup made the flagship glow with power. Every ship in the fleet watched as the weapon fired, sending a beam of pure energy across space. The moon exploded beautifully, breaking apart in a spectacular display of fire and debris. Chunks of rock scattered in all directions, glowing hot from the intense heat. It was the kind of display that made primitive species tremble in fear. Thelvax waited for the human surrender message. Surely now they understood. Instead, a new transmission arrived. Nice fireworks. We brought some too. Then one of the human ships moved toward another nearby moon. It was a cargo vessel according to their sensors. Big and blocky with no obvious weapons. The ship deployed what looked like industrial equipment. Mining lasers began cutting into the moon with casual precision. The Valthorian officers watched in growing disbelief as the human mining ship dismantled the entire moon in under 10 minutes. The lasers cut through rock like it was soft fruit, separating different minerals into neat piles that were pulled into the cargo hold by tractor beams. The whole operation was smooth, efficient, and completely routine. Another message came through. Do you guys not have mining lasers? That looked expensive. Thelvax stared at the view screen, his mouth open. The weapon that had taken 30 years to develop, that required the power output of a small star, that was the pride of the Empire's military, had just been outperformed by a human garbage truck. Sir, the tactical officer said quietly, I'm reading the power signatures from that mining vessel. Those lasers are putting out more energy than our planet cracker. That's impossible, Thelvax said. They're primitives. Our scouts confirmed it. Sir, I think our scouts may have made an error. Engineer Choi Minji was grinning on the bridge of the mining vessel Prosperity.
Did you see how long it took them to blow up that moon?
My kid could do it faster with a homework computer. Choi, stop showing off. Admiral Minho's voice came through the comms. You're going to give the poor aliens a heart attack. They started it, Choi replied cheerfully. Besides, I needed to mine that moon anyway. Good iron content. The Valthorian fleet remained frozen in space, trying to process what had just happened. Everything they knew about warfare, about power, about their place in the galaxy, had just been challenged by a species that treated moon destruction as a casual mining operation. And somewhere on the human flagship, someone was already making memes about the whole situation. The Grand Assembly was dead. Its broken pieces drifted in orbit, a monument to humanity's rage. The surviving council representatives had been brought aboard the Eternal Dawn in chains. They stood now in the main hall, surrounded by human soldiers. Their faces showed fear, anger, and disbelief. Admiral Choi Jun-ho walked slowly before them. He was old and tired, and the battle had aged him even more. But his eyes were sharp as he looked at each council member. 3,000 years ago, you decided humanity was too dangerous to exist, he said quietly. You burned our world. You killed 7 billion people. You thought you had erased us from history. A Scythe representative tried to speak. We did what we thought was necessary for galactic peace. Your species was too aggressive to— Silence, Admiral Choi said, his voice like ice. The Scythe closed his mouth. You will speak when I allow it. Captain Dejin stood nearby watching. Part of him wanted to see these aliens suffer as Earth had suffered. But another part remembered Ambassador Tak, who had died trying to make peace. Remembered Yoon Hana, who had sacrificed herself not for revenge but for justice. Dr. Kang entered the hall carrying a data storage device. Admiral, I've finished analyzing the files we recovered from the Grand Assembly. You need to see this. She activated a holographic display. Records appeared, thousands of them, dating back millennia. Each record showed a different species. Each species marked as terminated or population reduced. The Council has been doing this for over 5,000 years, Kang explained, her voice shaking with emotion. Any species they considered a potential threat was eliminated. Some were destroyed completely like Earth. Others were attacked until only small populations remained, too weak to ever become powerful. Humanity wasn't the first. We weren't even close to the first. The Council representatives looked at each other nervously. Their secret was revealed. Admiral Choi studied the records for a long time. How many species? He asked quietly. 243 that we can confirm, Kang replied. There may be more that weren't documented. Silence filled the hall. Even the human soldiers looked shocked. This wasn't just genocide against humanity. This was systematic elimination of any potential competition, carried out over thousands of years. Kwon Youngji stepped forward. Admiral, I have something else to report. When we studied the voting records from Earth's destruction, we found that 3 races voted against it. The Luminar, the Deepborn, and the Weave. They opposed the genocide. One of the captured council members spoke up. It was a Luminar, their crystalline body reflecting the harsh lights. We begged the other races not to destroy Earth. We argued for containment, for diplomacy, for anything except total destruction. But we were outvoted 9-3. The law required we support the majority decision. But we never wanted this. A Deepborn representative, in their water-filled containment suit, added quietly, We have opposed the Council's elimination policy for centuries. But we were minority voices, ignored and dismissed. Admiral Choi looked at these 3 representatives differently. You tried to save us? We tried, the Luminar said. We failed, and we have carried that guilt for 3,000 years. This changed things. Captain Dejin felt it. They weren't fighting 12 evil species. They were fighting a system where 9 species had dominated the other 3, using fear and violence to maintain control. But not everyone saw it that way. Vice Admiral Shin Bora, though relieved of her command, still had supporters. They wanted total revenge. They wanted every council species destroyed, just as Earth had been destroyed. Shin herself argued this point loudly. They all benefited from Earth's destruction. They all lived on worlds built with resources that should have been ours. They're all guilty. No, Admiral Choi said firmly. We're not them. We won't become what we hate. Then what was the point? Shin shouted. Why did we fight? Why did 70 million humans die in that battle? For nothing? For justice, Dejin said, speaking up for the first time. Not revenge, justice, there's a difference. The argument went on for hours. Finally, Admiral Choi made his decision. The 9 council races that had voted to destroy Earth would face consequences. They would provide resources and technology to help rebuild Earth. They would teach humans everything they knew about advanced sciences. They would work under human supervision for the next century, helping restore what they had destroyed. But they would not be exterminated. Humanity would not stoop to genocide. The 3 races that had opposed Earth's destruction The Luminar, Deepborn, and Weave would be treated as allies. They would help form a new government, one based on equality rather than domination. Not everyone agreed with this decision. Shin and her supporters were furious. Some even talked about mutiny, but most humans, exhausted by war and loss, accepted it. They wanted to rebuild, not continue fighting. Park Soon-ho, the engineer, immediately began working with council scientists to accelerate Earth's restoration. Using combined human and alien technology, they developed atmospheric processors that could speed up the planet's healing dramatically. Earth could be habitable in 20 years instead of a century, Soon-ho reported excitedly to Admiral Choi. We can go home. Really go home. Dr. Song, still exhausted from treating wounded, established medical stations for both humans and aliens injured in the battle. Healing has to start somewhere, she said when someone questioned why she would help council soldiers. Might as well start with medicine. Commander Nam Hyejin struggled more than others. She was a soldier, bred for combat. Peace felt wrong to her, uncomfortable. But she threw herself into organizing security forces for the new government. If she couldn't fight council forces, she would protect humanity from any future threats. Colonel Ryu helped her, though he understood her struggle. War defined us for 3,000 years, he told her. Learning to live without it will be hard, but we have to try. 6 months after the battle, a memorial service was held. Every human who had died was honored. Names were read aloud for 3 days straight. Yoon Hana's name brought tears to many eyes. Baek Min-ho's sacrifice was remembered with full military honors. Ambassador Tak was honored not as a failure, but as someone who had tried to find a better way. Captain Daejin spoke at the memorial for his crew members who had died. They gave their lives so humanity could have a future, he said. Not just survival, but a real future. A chance to rebuild. A chance to go home. We honor them by making that future real. Dr. Kang released Earth's cultural archives to the entire galaxy. Music, art, literature, history. Everything that made humanity human was shared freely. They tried to erase us, she said. We're making sure that can never happen again. Let everyone know who we were, who we are, and what we survived. Admiral Choi retired shortly after. He was tired, ready to rest. At his retirement ceremony, he gave one final speech. We were refugees for 3,000 years. We survived when we should have died. We adapted when we should have broken. And when the time came, we fought back when everyone thought we were gone forever. But victory isn't about destroying our enemies. It's about becoming something better than they were. It's about building a future worth the sacrifices made to reach it. The first human ships returned to Earth orbit 2 years later. Captain Daejin commanded the Eternal Dawn on this journey, as he had commanded it through the war. When Earth appeared on the viewing screens, everyone aboard stopped what they were doing to look. The planet was still scarred, still damaged in places, but life was returning. Green spread across the continents. Blue filled the oceans. White clouds drifted peacefully. Daejin felt tears running down his face. He didn't try to wipe them away. Prepare landing shuttles, he ordered. It's time to go home. The first humans to set foot on Earth in 3,000 years were children. Young ones born on the colony ships, who had never known anything except metal walls and recycled air. They stepped onto grass for the first time, felt natural wind, looked up at a real sky. One little girl picked up a handful of soil and laughed with pure joy. That simple laugh made everything worth it. Over the next decades, humanity rebuilt. Cities rose again, but different from before. They learned from their mistakes, building in harmony with nature instead of conquering it. The 9 council races that had destroyed Earth worked alongside humans, their attitudes slowly changing from resentment to respect. The Luminar, Deepborn, and Weave became humanity's closest allies. Together, they reformed the Galactic Council into something new, not a tool for domination, but a true coalition of equals. 100 years after the battle, a memorial was built on Earth. It stood where the United Nations building had once been, before the bombardment. The memorial listed every human who had died in the initial attack, and every human who had died in the war that followed. The inscription at the base read simply, "They tried to erase us. We refused to be forgotten. We returned. We rebuilt. We remembered." Former Captain Han Daejin, now very old, attended the memorial's dedication ceremony. He stood with Dr. Kang Mirai, Park Soon-ho, Commander Nam Hyejin, and other survivors of the war. They were fewer now. Time took its toll. A reporter asked Dejin what he felt looking at the memorial. He thought for a long moment before answering. Pride, he said finally, and sadness.